Roth, owner of Greg's Plumbing and Heating, and I'm going to go over the water heater system for the new bug school. The two A.O. Smith $4.99 Cyclone water heaters. You have your cold water inlet for both water heaters. You have your domestic hot water recirc line returned for both water heaters. Exhaust piping for both water heaters, and the domestic hot water leaving the water heaters for both water heaters. You also have right here the hot water shutoff valve for each hot water heater. And then up there is the cold water inlet shutoff, and they're labeled for each water heater. Each water heater is set to run at 140 degrees to handle the kitchen equipment. And then we mix it down over here on the mixing valve to reduce it down to 115 to feed all the lab faucets, kitchen sinks in all the rooms, prep sink faucets, that kind of stuff. But for all the kitchen equipment, we need to have 140 degree water. That's why we have it 140 at the water heaters. These are the gas regulators, propane regulators for the two water heaters. Water heater 1 and water heater 2, and the venting coming off the regulators going up through the roof. Up there with tags are the two shutoff valves for the two water heaters, water heater 1 and water heater 2. As for safety, we have the relief valves mounted on the side of the water heater, so if there's ever any dripping going on with the water heater into the floor drain back here, any kind of leakage, there's either an issue with the water heater and or the relief valve that would need to be addressed and taken care of as needed. We also, off of the exhaust pipe, have a condensate line that runs right here that runs down over to the floor drain for the condensate for the water heater. Since these are high efficiency water heaters, they produce condensation that will constantly produce water and drain down into the floor drain. And we can quick run through the programming real quick of the water heater. On top of the water heater, there is a disabled and enabled button. So you can shut the water heater on or off by just a flip of the switch. To change anything, you're going to just press the menu button, and then it gives you a whole main menu. The main thing that anyone's ever going to mess with is temperatures, where you can adjust the temperature up and down. You can also adjust the differential, so if you want it to take longer before it kicks on and off. We usually leave everything at factory settings because that's how it's going to run the most efficient. Otherwise, you can also go to heater status, and it will tell you if there's an error code or what's going on and what needs to be addressed and why the water heater isn't working, if it would ever be locked out on an error code for some reason. It also gives you fault history and current fault codes. Like right now, there's no fault codes, but it can give you fault history, which there is no history of any fault codes that have happened with this water heater. But again, it's just a matter of touching the screen and going to whatever item you want. You can do fault occurrence, how often that fault happens, and you can also do restore default settings if there's ever an issue and you get programming and you feel like you messed something up. You can hit restore to default, factory default, and start everything back over again. And that is it when it comes to programming. And on the main screen, it just tells you at all times what the current temperature is and what the operating set point is at. And then the status tells you if the water heater is running, heating, or not. Down here is the acid neutralizer for the water heaters. The high efficiency water heaters have very acidic water. It can cause damage to the drain or the floor. So we run it through an acid neutralizer that before it goes to the floor drain. These should be changed out about once a year. You can either just replace a rock in it or replace the whole entire acid neutralizer, and just for safety purposes to keep it, so you don't get acidic water going down the drain and eating away at the piping. On top of the water heater, you have two devices. You have the gas valve that feeds the gas to the water heater, and then you also have the exhaust blower motor that pumps the exhaust up through the roof. Neither one of these need to be serviced and or really touched until you have any issues with them. They're either going to work or they're not going to work. There's no in between. So you don't have to grease them. You don't have to do any messing with them, no adjustments to them. Um, if the blower would ever go out, that just needs to be replaced, and if the gas valve ever goes out, that would need to be replaced. But no adjustments and or maintenance required on either one of them. And that should cover the top of the water heaters. Here we have our two hot water recirc pumps. What these pumps do is recirc the water to the far end of the building, so you always have hot water at the faucets when you turn them on. This circ pump is the kitchen circ pump, which is going to run 140-degree water, and it is controlled by this aquastat. So when the water gets returned back at 140, it shuts this aquastat down until it drops temperature and it kicks it back on again. Same thing with the 115-degree water circulating pump that controls the bathrooms and all the room sinks. As for maintenance, nothing really needs to be done with either the circ pumps and or the mixing valve. The water heater, you just need to check it periodically to make sure the relief valve works and there's no issues with that, and make sure that nothing's dripping. But other than that, you don't touch the water heaters or mess with them unless it tells you there's an issue or you have trouble with them.
Okay, are the pump switches, are they usually off or on?
They should always be on. And right now they do have them off. But when I guess if you're not going to be using water, okay, leave them off. But they always should be in the on position to keep the water circulating at all times. Okay. Now on the off season, again, if you're not using certain items of the school, if you want to shut down just the kitchen aspect of it, go ahead and shut down the circ pump rated 140, and that will close everything down for the kitchen. You'll still have hot water, it's just not going to be recirced, so that pump isn't running and causing continuous wear on it.
By turning them off, though, would you have any concerns about these wears and then having them let that water sit in the pipe for months?
I guess that's a good question. I guess potentially, yes. I've never thought of that before, yeah. So maybe just leave the circ pumps on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unless you have issues with them. Again, as for the circ pump, the mixing valve, we do have a shutoff here, but the gauge tells you right where the water heaters are running at for the mixed water going to the system.
Okay. So hopefully that right there will match.
Nope, this should always be at 115, and these should always be at 140. Okay. Because we have 140-degree water that has to feed the kitchen down at the far end, and then we have to mix this 140-degree water. This 140-degree water comes in here, mixes with the cold water to mix it down to 115-degree water for the bathrooms for safety. Yeah. So we don't have any scalding going on. What we're talking about now is the backflow preventer for the system. It's a 3-inch Apollo backflow preventer. Basically what this does, it just makes it so you can't get any contamination back into the well. So if anything gets hooked onto the plumbing system in here, it can't get backfed into the main plumbing system or water system out in the yard. Basically there's no anything you have to do weekly or monthly to this. Once a year it does need to be serviced and gone through to make sure it's working properly. And then every 3 years it just needs to be completely rebuilt and all the parts redone in it to bring it back up to factory again. Unless you were to ever see water dripping out of this pipe, which there may be some stagnant sitting right there, and if you bump it you may get a drip here or there, but it'd be a steady drip that you'd be noticing or a stream coming out of it, then this would have to get serviced and worked on. Other than that, nothing should ever have to be done with this except for the once a year maintenance and every 3-year rebuild. If you ever were to have an emergency and you need to get the water shut off quick to the building, this also works as a shut off. You can either shut this handle off here or shut this handle off here. Just by cranking it clockwise, you will shut the whole system down on this side of the valve, or you can shut it down on this side of the valve, depending on what's going on. So if something were to magically start leaking on this valve, you could shut this side off to keep anything on the valve going, but otherwise if it's just in the plumbing system you need to shut down, you can shut this valve off. And that concludes the backflow preventer. This item right here is the Zoller pump controller. It controls, there's a tank down in the crawl space down here that has 2 pumps in it. That just, all those pumps are for has drain tile around the whole entire building that run back into those tanks. So if you ever have a groundwater issue, it kicks on and pumps them outside. So if there's ever a light on or an alarm going off here, one of the pumps has acted up and having an issue, and that's why it's not pumping out. For the most part, you're really sandy soil around here. You shouldn't have much groundwater, and these pumps probably won't run a whole lot, but they're put in there just for the what if because of the crawl space to handle any kind of moisture issue you might have down in that crawl space. So again, there's 2 alternating pumps. So one pump kicks on one time, and then the next time it runs, the next pump kicks. So that way they don't wear one pump out and put too much stress on one pump. They take turns switching on and off. But this will let you know which pump is having issues with that light, and then the also top light and a buzzing noise will let you know if there's an issue also. Yeah. And again, those pumps are down pretty much, well, they're down in the corner over there in the crawl space.
Do they need to do any maintenance on those pumps?
No maintenance ever has to be done on the pumps. Again, they either work or they don't work. The only thing that could maybe go wrong is a float. Maybe every once in a while may need to be changed out if if it were to fail. But again, they're not going to get used a ton, so they shouldn't have much issues or much worries on them. There is on the side here. Is that still on? Okay. On the side of this box, if the alarm is going off, until you get someone over here or you yourself get down to take care of it, there is a silence button on the side that you can flip to shut the alarm buzzing off, so that way you're not causing noise in the school, having any issues like that. So you can silence the alarm by flipping the switch on the side to make the alarm go off until you get it fixed. If the alarms do go off, you probably have about a 100-gallon window before anything were to start having issues and backing up by how big the tanks are down in the crawl space. So you have a little bit of leeway before when they start going off to when you have any issues that you have to get concerned about real fast. Here is where the, right below here is where the sewer pump is, or that sewer pump, the drain tile pump. So the drain tile tank is directly below us, and the pipe comes up through here with the ball valve and check valve, 90s up, and then discharges out the gray water out onto the grass outside, or into the rock actually outside in the yard. So if you were to have any issues, it's directly below here is where you would service the pump and change any pumps out. But here is the discharge pump coming up and shooting out to the outside. So here we have a typical floor drain for the system. Really no service needs to be done to that, but if you were ever to get any kind of like a rotten egg smell, a sewer gas smell out in this room or the vicinity, it helps to put some water in it, because the traps can start to dry out, and you can get the water level to drop inside the trap, and then you can get a sewer gas smell coming out from them. So if you ever get any kind of a smell out of them or anything like that, you could definitely take a garden hose or a 5-gallon bucket of water and dump down all the floor drains just to get rid of any kind of potential sewer gas smell, rotten egg smell you may have coming out of them. So right in the screen there, you're going to see 2 round roof drains. One's going to be the regular roof drain, and one's the overflow. The overflow just kicks on, or it's 2 inches taller than the regular roof drain, so that way if you get a high, heavy rains, then the overflow kicks in also to help keep the roof from getting too much water on it. It's a screen cover on top of it, so you may want to go up there periodically and check the holes and slots to make sure there's no debris, leaves, anything like that could be blocking the water flow going down into the drains. So right here you have the rooftop unit. The black piping you see on the bottom left of the rooftop is the gas piping, and there is a little white handle right there in the bottom corner before it 90s up. That is the gas valve to shut the gas off to the rooftop unit. The white piping you see in front, directly in front of us, is the condensate piping for the roof drain, again, because these are rooftop. The rooftops have condensate to come off them and have to get drained down into a roof drain or a different point. Right off the bottom of that roof drain, you're going to see a T, and off to the right of that T there's a plug. In the wintertime, you're going to take that plug out, or you will cause that condensate trap to freeze and cause damage to the heater itself. So every winter, every one of those heaters has a plug you pull on that white piping right on that T to drain the condensate water out of there, and to leave the T out all winter and put the T back in the spring, or the cap back on in the spring of the year. Right in front of us, you can see the gas regulators for the rooftop units. There's 2 and 2. Each one feeds their own furnace. Each furnace requires 2 regulators. And then coming off the top of them is the vent that's piped up 3 to 4 feet just to get above any potential snow load that might be on the roof, and issues with that to make sure the gas regulators vent properly. And again, that should conclude the regulators. What we're looking at now between the the exhaust hood and the rooftop is the roof hydrant. That is to rinse down the coils on the furnaces and anything you might need for water up on the roof. It is a hydrant application, so it shuts off down below in the heated area in the gymnasium, and it has a drain port that goes back to a drain back inside, so you don't have to worry about anything freezing or like that, unless you leave a garden hose onto it with the handle on, with some kind of a spray nozzle on it, then it would freeze. So you have to always have no garden hose on it and the handle in the off position when you're done to have it drain back properly for any kind of freeze protection application for it. So what we're going over now is the grease trap for the building. All the kitchen equipment, or all the kitchen drains, run back to the grease trap before it goes out to the septic system. Underneath every one of these round lids is a cover to get down to the tank. You don't need to access all three of them. You only need, but you should have the tank pumped every single year and accessing through one of the three lids to get to the tank to pump all the solids out for the grease trap. Because if it gets too full, then that grease will start going out into the septic system and it will make the septic system fail. So again, once a year, the grease trap needs to be pumped to get all the solids out to keep the septic system healthy. What we're going over now is the septic system. This is a septic tank with a set of pumps that pump out to the drain field out into the yard. So all the septic from the back half of the building runs to these tanks right here, and there is a set of 2 pumps inside the tank that pump up out to the drain field. Just like with the sump pump, they're alternating pumps. So one kicks on, they take turns, so that way you always have one running, or both can kick on if the load gets too heavy to definitely get it pumped out faster. Again, no maintenance revolved to the pumps, but the tank should be pumped every 2 to 3 years to prevent solid buildup in there and have issues with the drain field. But again, just 2 pumps down there, 2 Zoller pumps that are on alternating floats that kick up and pump out to the drain field as needed. That is the wiring control box where all the wires come back to for all the floats. There is a control panel inside there that actually has the alarms on them to let you know if there's an issue and everything like that.
Are there any treatments that they should be doing?
Nope, no treatments, nothing like that. Just make sure it's pumped every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, every couple of years.
Yeah,
Anyway.
just to keep the solid buildup from getting too heavy. And
We do that regularly over there, but
yeah.
I got
And just every time you pump the other building, just pump this at the same time is how I would just set it up. Okay. Doing it too much is not going to hurt anything. The more solids they get in the tank, the more chance of a float getting hung up, more chance of an alarm going off that shouldn't be because it's toilet paper stuck on something and holding something up or something like that. So every time you pump the other tanks, go ahead and pump these, but at minimum 2 to 3 years. Okay. So here we have the mop, sink, and faucet for the kitchen, hot and cold. You can put a garden hose on here, or you can take a garden hose off, hang a bucket right from this hook right here. Hot and cold, they do have shut-off valves right on below, so if you ever need to service it, you just take a flathead screwdriver underneath the faucet and you can shut the incoming water off if you ever change a stem or anything like that on the faucet. Here is the vacuum breaker, again, so you can't back siphon into the faucet. If you ever see water dripping out from underneath here or anything like that, you will have to get the vacuum breaker repaired and just a new kit put inside of it. So here we have a typical toilet with a flush valve, floor mount. If you ever need to work on this cap unscrews to access a screwdriver slot to shut the water off, so you can replace the vacuum breaker or handle or any kind of assembly in there, and also adjust the water pressure via that screw. Here we have a sensor faucet that just is going to put your hands underneath there, it kicks it on and off, with the mixing valves underneath here to temper the water. So it keeps it from anti-scald also. So underneath here is these 2 circles are the 2 shutoff valves for the sink, and this is the P-trap assembly for the sink. So if you ever need to work on the faucet, you can take these 2 caps off, access the shutoff valves for the faucet. This faucet is a Chicago sensor flush, and it is battery operated. So on the Chicago sensor faucet, on this particular model, it has a set screw underneath here to pop off to lift the whole assembly off to get to the batteries. On other models, you want to refer to the manual depending on, because each faucet will have a different application process to get to the batteries. and work on them. But that's on this particular faucet. There's a set screw underneath here to pop this housing off and get to the AA batteries. Down here we have a floor clean out. This will access the plumbing in here to clean the sewer line out if there ever be a backup or issue. Alongside of it is the floor drain. Again, on the floor drain, if you ever get a periodic sewer gas smell or rotten egg smell out of it, it doesn't hurt to dump a little bit of water down there to keep the trap from getting dry. So here we have a dishwasher prep sink with an InSinkErator garbage disposal mounted underneath it with the power control right here. You have a forward button, a stop button, and a reverse to change the rotation of the garbage disposal in case anything were to ever get clogged up in it. The disposal then comes out of there and pumps down into the floor sink that goes out to the sewer system in the building. Alongside of it, the dishwasher also drains and pumps into the floor sink. Up here we have our sink faucet that has the long spout, which the handle you can control the water flow. It's off right now. Oh no, right there. You got your on and off here, and then you can control the spout versus that handle right there, and or the side sprayer to turn it on there. And that should conclude the faucet. Here we're talking about another kitchen sink. This is a 3-compartment sink. It has 2 T&S faucets. Again, a hot and cold operation on each side that can swivel back and forth to hit any of the 3 stalls. Down below we have lever drains. So you turn it to the left to close it. You turn it all the way to the right to open the drain back up to drain a sink. And again, they drain down to the floor sink in the floor.
And are those a bunch of shutoffs underneath there?
Yes. There is water shutoffs underneath here for each of the faucets, hot and cold, with ball valves underneath to turn them on and off for servicing. Here we have the gas service for all the fryers and cooktops. The 1-inch gas line coming down, and then we have a shutoff valve right here to control the main line feeding everything. And then there is a 1, 2, 3, 4 drops going down to each item, and each one of them has a shutoff valve with a quick disconnect flex gas line. And that concludes the gas service for the cooking. So right up here we have the gas regulator and shutoff valve for the kitchen equipment. Again, the tag is on the white handle for the main gas shutoff valve, and right in front of that is the gas regulator for all the kitchen appliances.
Can we say what our location is here?
We are in the south mechanical room. Here we're showing the showers in the locker rooms. We have American centered valves with the on-off handle here to come out of the shower head up top, or you can take the diverter valve to transfer it to the handheld off to the side that has a slide bar with a push button on the back to raise it up and down as needed, or you can take it off to do whatever you want and then hang back down in this hook right here. Has 3 grab bars, 1 vertical, 2 horizontal. Down here you have the cover for the shower drain, which can be popped off by just taking a flathead screwdriver and popping it up to access any hair issues or anything like that down in the drain. The seat off to the side can be lifted up and tilted just up out of the way just by lifting on it. And that should conclude the shower. Alrighty, here we have a typical sink in one of the classrooms. Swivel spout, hot, cold, with a plug style drain that just goes down in it to plug it and hold the water, pull it to release the water. Underneath we have the trap coming down out of the sink, and it goes into this particular device is a plaster trap. So if there's any paints or anything like that that can harden, it gets in here and protects the drain so you don't get plug drains and that kind of stuff from anything they're dumping down in the sinks. So periodically this thing the top should be taken off and it should be cleaned out. It has a wing nut on top, 2 wing nuts on top to clean the assembly out. There's a basket that actually lifts up and out of there.
Is there enough room for that basket?
There is, yeah, but it's a shallow one that goes down way down low. And then just like the other sinks, right here and here are shutoff valves to access the faucet to turn it on and off from underneath. So you can work on anything if you ever needed to. Alrighty, here we have a typical sink in the home ec. Again, same as the last faucet, swivel, on top, on off with the plug style drain. Has a dishwasher right next to it with the water shut off for the dishwasher and the sink underneath here, and the dishwasher drain connecting onto the kitchen sink drain piping that goes up underneath into the wall. So if ever needs to be worked on, everything's accessible right underneath the sink for the dishwasher. Alrighty, here we are in the science lab. Again, another typical science lab faucet, just on off, hot and cold, and it swivels. On each side of the sink we have the gas turrets to hook up for the burners and like that for science lab, science teaching, with just an on-off turn to turn them on and off. For safety and servicing, we have gas shutoffs underneath here. If you ever needed to work on any of them, you can shut the gas valve off underneath the sink. And underneath all the science sinks, we also have an acid trap. It has rock in there to neutralize the acid, any acid that might be getting down the science sink, so it doesn't again hurt the drains, just like on the condensate for the water heaters. So that rock does need to be changed out again every so often. We don't have to do once a year like we do on the condensates for the furnaces, but probably every 2 to 3 years, depending on how much actually gets dumped down the sinks. It's just a matter of unscrewing this cap, but the way they are positioned with the sinks, you do have to undo the sink trap to get the cap off to get to it. So here we have the gas solenoid shut off, so if there's ever an emergency, gas leak, fire, anything like that, in both corners of the science lab there is an emergency button. You hit that and it will shut off the gas solenoid valve mounted in the ceiling to shut all gas off to all the appliances in the science lab for any kind of safety or emergency application. So here we have the gas shut off for the science lab, manual shut off. This is the gas solenoid valve that I was talking about for the emergency gas shut off. And this is the gas regulator to feed all the burners in the science lab. So this assembly is marked underneath the tag up in the ceiling grid, 135 science gas shut off. So here we have the emergency eye wash and rain station, shower station. So in case of a chemical in the eye or chemical on you, you can come over here, pull this handle down to get the rain shower coming on top of you, or flush your eyes out by coming in here and tipping these back and pushing it all the way back to flush your eyes out. And then this system just drains right down into the floor drain right down below. There is a mixing valve up in the ceiling and shut off up in the ceiling for the eye wash to temper the water so you don't get 115 degree water to the eyes. We want it anywhere from 70 to 80 degree water for flushing eyes.
Do they have any servicing or annual testing that they have to do with this?
They probably do have some kind of annual testing, but it's all going to depend on OSHA and what OSHA does. But OSHA will come in here once a year and want them to test the eye wash and test the shower just to make sure everything works properly. But that will be done through the local OSHA rep. Up here we have the shut-off lines and water main running for the life skills and the eye wash station. Water lines are running here. They shoot up over the top and have 2 shut-off valves so you can shut the water off going to that actual room, servicing that room. So here we have a drinking fountain station. We have a high-low. Just by pressing on the front of it and or side of it, you can get water dispensed out of the unit. Right next to it, we have another high drinking fountain with a bottle fill for filtered water for everyone's drinking bottles. Right here, it tells you how many disposable plastic bottles were eliminated by using that. Over on the side, it has a filter status. Green means it's good. Yellow means it's coming to its end, and red means it's time to change the filter. You take the side panel off to get to the filter. It's just a quick connect on the filter. And then there's a shut-off valve in there too to shut the water line off to the drinking fountain and so then you can service the filter and change it out. Once you put it in, there's a reset button right next to it. You reset it to reset the light, and then it monitors again until it needs to be changed out again. Same with the high-low drinking fountains. These access panels pop off down here, and then there is water shut-off valves underneath them for servicing them.
How do you shut them off? Do you take a flathead?
Not shut off. I'm sorry. How do you get the service panels off on? Panels off? There is a 5/16 nut underneath this whole skirt right here. You pop them off, the screws, and then this whole panel drops straight down to access them to service them. Or a flathead screwdriver will work also. Here we have a mop sink in one of the janitor's closets. same American Standard faucet, on off. You do have a hose hook on this, so if you want to put a bucket underneath there, it'll hold the hose in place, or just want the hose up stored out of the way, you can do that. You can hang a bucket from here and fill from the bottom here. And again, we have a vacuum breaker, so if there's any, it can't backfeed into the cause chemical contamination anywhere in the building. So if it ever starts dripping out of here, this vacuum breaker needs to be replaced. Coming down from the ceiling down, we have a condensate line from one of the furnaces that just drips condensate into the floor drain or into the floor sink to keep it out of the drains.